Welcome GRD131, Graphic Design 1, our Tuesday and Thursday 2 p.m. class. Just wanted to go over some of our assignments and some of the things we're working on, even a new exercise, since a number of people were out last week, so attendance was kind of down for various reasons, and I just wanted to make sure that I caught everyone up. Even people were there just to catch people up a little bit, just to kind of give an overview of some of the things we went over. So first of all, I'll go back to Documents and Resources, and in handouts under Unit 8, I believe, there's an EX13 Burger Barn sketches. And all you needed to do so far was just start doing some thumbnail sketches, just inch by inch pencil sketches, anywhere from 6 to 8. You could do it on the sheet or on a piece of paper, use a pencil, and just kind of sketch out some ideas, just real rough ideas, so that when you start working on a computer, you'll have some place to start. You're not just going to start working on things on a computer, because you could waste time focusing on one thing, drawing a barn, and it may not be the right direction that you want to work in. So I want to help you with the direction to go in before you start building things in a drawing program like Illustrator or Gravit. So that's why we're going to do some sketches. So you should do some thumbnail sketches. And if you click on this, it'll describe that a little bit. And again, it's a soon-to-be popular restaurant. So it's not a real restaurant, although you may find a Burger Barn somewhere. It's not like the name is that unique. I'm sure you'll find a Burger Barn. I don't really want you to look for a Burger Barn. I haven't seen any that are really good, and they're probably cliche. I saw one that had a barn in place of an A. And what I want you to look at, just to kind of give some comparison, is like Applebee's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Chili's, Chick-fil-A, Ruby Tuesdays, because it's more of a casual kind of restaurant. Even some other burger kind of restaurants you can look at. But also what I do want you to look at is look at some before and after logos. I showed these in class. Now, if you just go here and here's Applebee's logo before and after. I'll just do a quick search here. That's all you have to do. And here's one. Now, I think this comes up on Pinterest, but that's okay. I don't know if I have another one that actually has both on the page. But if you click on this one, I'll zoom in here just a little bit and go over instead of clicking on it. But older logo looks like kind of stained glass kind of look. Everything's kind of built in a round cornered box, double border on it. It has the apple and an outline, full color. It has kind of a unique looking font here, and it has a plain font underneath. But everything's very boxy. It could even be a sign in itself. Now this does not look like a sign. It's very open, and it's actually easier to read far away. If I zoom back, you can see it's a little easier to read from further away. And it's a little more kind of flowing. It's not as centered, as symmetrical. And sometimes they do that so you can kind of use the apple separate from the lettering, or the mark separate from the type. So you can kind of use different things if you have to. Here you can't. The apple's kind of locked into there. So I want to show this because some of the themes you'll see with newer logos, especially since they have to look good on phones and things like that, is they'll look good at small sizes. You'll see cleaner type. You'll see more open designs that have white space around them, not boxy, because then it's hard to put a box inside a box. So this leaves it a little bit open, and you also have flexibility of moving things around. So you have type that looks better at smaller sizes. It's cleaner type. You have images that can be separated from the logo itself or from the text itself. It can be used differently. So you could have Applebee's separate probably from the apple. You could just have the apple as an icon for an app or something like that. So that's where you're going to start to see a little bit more. Here's another version down here. Here's a cleaner version. I'm not sure if this is actually a newer version of theirs, but you can see the type's very clean. Nice font that has an A that kind of runs into the P, and it's very clean. And this is not very clean. So that's one idea of where Applebee's is going. And actually, now that I look at this is probably their newest version. I was looking at this. This is even better, and it's even a better example of using a nice clean serif font, using an apple that's even cleaner, because this apple is not very clean. It has a couple layers of red in it, but this is nice and clean. And even if you compare this and this, you could definitely see the difference. See, I guess they kind of updated even more recently than I thought. So I actually like this better. I think this apple looks cleaner than this apple with the double red going on there. I'm not sure what they're trying to do with that, but this definitely looks cleaner. So this is definitely the direction to go in terms of designing a logo. Very clean font down here, sans serif with a serif font up here. Now, somewhat of a unique font that it has ease with the crossbar that's kind of on an angle a little bit, but It looks nice. It has an A that has a little sliding board stroke that goes right into the P. This apple could be separate. It could be on its own and be very unique just for Applebee's. Here they are in one color. So it can work in one color, it could work in 3 color. So this is the direction to go. So they're getting away from even this a little bit. Again, something that looks good at small sizes. If I keep zooming out here, this will look a lot cleaner than their old version. So that's one thing to look at. And even Buffalo Wild Wings, let's look at that. And they have a couple versions too, even a newer version than the last time I looked at this. Here's 2 versions here. This is their old version. I'll zoom in a little bit here just to show the older version that they had. Kind of again, like Applebee's, the mark is kind of built into the type area, and the type area is almost in a box, almost like a sign. So it's almost like a sign, and it's a cool looking logo, except it's not very flexible and it can't work on a lot of different things that well. If you put it on a sign, then you're kind of boxing it in a sign. So you have a box inside a box. So their next version was this, where they had this circular logo that they're really kind of focusing on the sports. This looks more kind of, outback looking a little bit, and this looks a little more sportsy, like it can be an emblem on a helmet. So that's kind of where they went next. And even the font is a little more athletic looking. It's a little more of a slab serif as opposed to this, which almost has a jungle kind of look to it, like a Jurassic Park looking kind of font, very angular D's and things like that. This is a version of Aachen, but they even retained, or they even kind of modified it to have these kind of angles here, I guess to make look like wings coming out. So they kind of had that sharpness that they kept in there, and it's mixed with an Aachen font. But the problem with this font is it will struggle at small sizes because you have very thin lines in here. Even in the G here, there's a very small space. There's small spaces inside the letters. It's a very narrow. It's somewhat of a condensed font, a lot of narrow little holes in there that may give it problems at small sizes. The benefits is that you can separate the mark from the text, and that's what you'll see in some of the videos that you look at, the mark and the text. Now, they even have a newer version, which I'll zoom back out and try to find the newest version. This is the newest version here, and you can see it's even a cleaner version of this font. It's no longer the Aachen font. They still have kind of angled kind of flare serifs coming out here, but it's a lot more open type style. You can see the L, the D, the counters inside of here are very open now, so it's a little bit lighter. It's easier to read at smaller sizes. Even the Buffalo is a little bit cleaner. They took away the extra detail in here and just made it a little bit more clean. No extra shading in the Buffalo. It's just solid Buffalo, brown and white, and even the wing itself no longer has any gray shading in it. It just has kind of an opening in the wing. So they're even going cleaner and cleaner. And again, you can separate the mark from the text. So that's what you're going to see when you look at some of these. So look at some of the other ones as well on here that I mentioned. Check out Chili's before and after. Check out Chick-fil-A before and after. Ruby Tuesday, TGI Fridays. You can see that they've all had kind of changes going on. And every time you're going to see things that look cleaner and more open and more flexible to use in different ways, so you can separate the mark from the text. Whereas down here, you couldn't separate the mark from the text. Here you could, and here it works even better because it's cleaner. And here's a version where, this is white on black. This just stays here with a white border on it, and they're going with a little more browner color. So that's kind of where things are going. So look how nice that looks at a small size. That's tiny, but it looks good at a small size. You could recognize that's Buffalo Wild Wings. So that's what you want to start to do. Don't worry about a lot of detail. Don't think about constructing a barn and all kinds of really detailed stuff. Think of how simple they're working here. Think of Burger King. Think of how simple the Burger King logo is. That's what I want you to be working towards. I don't want to do a whole lot of illustration. I want you to have something that works well with text and then has a mark that could kind of work with it. So that's what we're going to work on for our next design, and I have a practice exercise to work on. But before you do that, you're going to go down here to bookmarks if you haven't yet. There's some resources that I want you to check out. And this is a couple videos. These are before and after videos, and there's 6 here. There's this video itself, and it'll open up in my Google Drive. It's not on YouTube. It'll open up in my Google Drive. What makes a good logo? And they're short. They're like 3 minutes, but they're really good videos. We watched them in class, and I think people got a lot out of them. So make sure you take the time to watch them And that's why I have a quiz on it. So you'll take a quiz after you do this related to this, or you could take the quiz as you're watching these videos and kind of check it out. But they talk about keeping the name and mark separate, how not to design a logo to avoid some kind of amateur mistakes. It doesn't have to be completely unique. You don't have to find the perfect font that's never been used before. You don't have to always find a novelty font to use. Just the way you use it can make it be unique. They talk about mixing different types of styles. You don't want to mix different styles and genres in one logo. And also, you don't always need showy typefaces. You can get away with nice, clean, classic typefaces. And watch these videos, take the quiz, and then also check out this. These are articles, so if you click on this is from Smashing Magazine. Click on this link and check out these articles. You don't have to memorize anything here, but just kind of go through and check them out. Some of them have just headlines that you want to check out. They talk about designing logos. Even if you just kind of scan through these a little bit, relying on trends, using swooshes, all this kind of stuff. And after that one, there's a couple more here, just like the other one. There's 6 altogether. So there's 6 articles and 6 videos. These are like 3-minute videos or 6 articles to check out. And some of these have logos to just look at for inspiration. So these things down here are kind of inspiration, but effective logo design, these are good articles to look at. So check out this stuff before you do anything. It's all going to be resources to help you when you start designing. So make sure that you do that. I don't have a quiz on this yet, but I do have a quiz on the before and after videos. And then for another practice exercise, even before working on your Burger Barn stuff, you're going to go to coursework. And you can do this in Gravit. I was going to do it in Illustrator, but since people missed class and weren't there for whatever reason, you could work on it at home. So this will be under Unit 8, or actually it's under Unit 9. And Unit 9 has the before and after design videos. Quiz, I think it works now. There was a problem with the images, but it should be okay. And then also EX14 marks and logos. Now let me put this in student view so it looks like the way you see it. And we'll go down to Unit 9. And what you can do, this is a PDF for working in class in Illustrator, but I would rather have you just click on here. So click on this link and then save it to your cloud. So click on this link. And I'm going to hit OK. There's a new version here. Let me close this up. And whenever you see a thing about a new version, just update it. Okay, now it's updated and it says this design was shared. So it was shared. And what you're going to do is save it to your cloud. So it has type and mark logos last F. So you're going to go to File, Save to Cloud As, and you're going to save it to your GRD131. I have a GRD131 folder. I'll just go in here. And down at the bottom, save it with your last name. So I'll just put Homa R. And remember, when you save it to your cloud from a shared file, it doesn't put a save button. So you just have to hit Enter. And there it is. Now, what do I want you to do here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 logos here. And what I want you to do is get a nice type logo, almost like we did with our logo personalities and our mishaps and things like that. We want to pull something out of here. Make a nice type logo first, and then we're going to add a mark to it. And I want you practicing kind of working with that. I don't want you putting logos inside of images. I don't want, Maple Hills inside a leaf. That's why we're going to practice this a little bit so we avoid those mistakes early on. And even this one, it's good practice again, just Oak Hollow Estates. It's like a nice upscale neighborhood. So what kind of font would you want? Well, based on our type personalities, maybe a nice serif font. So where are you going to find a nice serif font? Well, you're going to go to Google Fonts. So make sure you go there before you just start cycling through your fonts and grab it. So go to Google Fonts, and I'll just show you a couple things to do here. Go to Google Fonts. If you want to look at serif fonts, go here. Uncheck all the other fonts, and we'll just look at serif. You might want to sort them by popular. You can sort them by name, but I'm going to put by most popular. And then type something. I'm going to put Oak Hollow. That way I kind of get a visual of what it might look like, or exactly what it might look like. And based on the popular fonts here, here's Merriweather, here's Roboto Slab. Now, I don't know if you want to use a slab font, or maybe you want something that's a little more classic. And there's lots to look at. I know I always mention Crimson Pro, but there's lots of different ones to look at. What I do want you to be aware of is think about how fonts will look at a small size. So if you see a font like Playfair, which is nice, Keep in mind there's very fine lines, so make sure you click and see the different fonts in there. And if they all have those very fine lines, you might want to look for something else. Like between these two, between Laura and Playfair, I would say Laura would work better because you don't have as many fine lines. Even though that's a nice font, I would kind of go towards this, or I'd go towards that. And, maybe not as slabby as that. And what's nice too is try to find something that has styles. So like Merriweather, it's 8 styles. That's great. Click on them, go look through them, check out their italic. Not that you're going to use the italic, but you have it available. You're not limited. So you don't want to do something that just has one style, because you might use a serif font with a sans serif, but you also might use an italic with it. So check out the styles, or just try out a font that has either variable. If it says variable, that's fine. It's going to have a lot of different styles, or it'll show you the styles. So if it has 4, that's fine. If it has 3, you got to be careful because it may not have a bold. If it has 2, it might just have a regular and an italic. So 3. Here's Libre Baskerville. So this may not have a bold italic. I'm not even sure what it has here, but it has a regular, an italic, and it has bold. It doesn't have a bold italic. Is that a problem? Maybe not. It's a nice font. Actually, it has a nice bold-looking font here, and it has an italic, so you could get away with that. But I just want you to be aware of that as you're looking through those. So if you see one that just has one style, you might want to avoid ones that have one style. Here's Bitter. Here's, E.B. Garamond. That's variable. That's a very classic-looking font that would look nice for something like that. If you're looking for that, Cormorant Garamond, now that has very fine lines in it, so I'd want to look at some of the styles that are in here and what's available. That's very fine line, and even the bold, they still have very fine lines, so I might avoid that. Not that it's not a bad font, but it just has fine lines that might not look good at smaller sizes. And for any logo, you want to think about that. You don't want to have really fine lines in a logo, even though it's it's a estates. So going back here, even if you just started there and you were like, let me try Merriweather. And you could, jot these down, try a couple, or Laura. Maybe I'll try Laura. Laura's a nice one there. And you don't have to add it. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go in here and say, okay, I'm going to try Laura. So now you could go in here and just type Laura, and you'll have it in your list. There it is. I'll click on it. And now it's Laura. And then I'm going to go to, semi-bold, or maybe I'll try bold. And right now it's on auto scale font, so I can scale it up a little bit. I could grab on the corner, make it a little bit bigger, or you could do this to make it bigger, smaller in here. Now if it starts going outside the box, remember to go auto, and there's my oak hollow. Now estates, remember a lot of times I said you can put it in all caps. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Sometimes using a sans serif. Now let's check out a nice sans serif that might work well with it. I'll go here and uncheck that and put on sans serif, and I'll type estates just to see what that looks like. Here's estates. There's Roboto, Open Sans. Look at the difference between the S's here of those two. This kind of curls more. This is kind of a little more open, the Open Sans. And these are most popular. So Open Sans, Roboto has 12 styles. So there's a lot of options in there. I'm going to go with a Roboto. I'm not even going to look any further. That has kind of a nice look. Unless you wanted something that had a little more of a condensed look. If I was looking for something condensed, I think you might find like a Roboto condensed. But I'm going to start with Roboto. So I'll put that in Roboto. And you can see there is a Roboto condensed, and you might want to try that, but I'm just going to use Roboto for now. And if you want it in all caps, unfortunately, you have to retype estates like that. And if you want to spread it out, you would use the character spacing here. And I'll start by going 0.05, or let me try 0.1 and see what that looks like, just to see what direction it's going here, because sometimes it makes it really wide. So that's 0.1. If I go to like 0.3, that's not bad. I mean, it's way bigger than that. And notice the page is getting cut off. I'll mention this too. The page is getting cut off. Click over here and turn off clip content. That way you'll see it off the page. Now what I'll do is I'll make this smaller. I can just go here to the point size and make it a little bit smaller. And let me go on auto here. And I'll keep going smaller. Hey, I recorded this after that little issue that I was having there with my text. I just want to point this out. After putting the character spacing here, normally when we have on auto scale font, we could just grab it here and scale it. And what's happening is it's automatically fixing it, and then we have to keep doing auto, and every time we have to keep doing that. And I'm not sure why it's doing that or if that's some issue with the update, but let me just undo here. It seems like if you grab the top corner now for some reason and just scale it down that way, it'll scale it for you. But another issue that I don't remember having before when we've done this is it seems to be maintaining the exact same space even when we make the text smaller. So it's making the text smaller, but it's keeping the space the same. So it's not scaling the whole thing in proportion, which is just a little odd. So I just want to point that out. So grab it from the upper right corner when you have auto scale font, at least with this update, and then you might have to go through, update your spacing again. So if this is 0.8, I'm going to go down to like 0.6 and do that. I'm not sure if that's a glitch or what, but I'm pretty sure in the past we were able to just scale this up and everything kind of scaled at once. But now it seems like it's keeping the spacing independent. So no matter how big you make it, it's keeping the spacing the same. So just be aware of that. I'm not sure why that's happening in here, but I noticed that, of course, when I'm recording the video of all times, that it's like, wait, what's going on here? But I just wanted to point that out. So there is an issue. If you run into that, just grab it from the corner, and then you may have to adjust the spacing a little bit. But this is kind of the look I wanted, but I was having problems doing that when I was recording the video. So I thought I might have just done something wrong, but let me know if you have any issues. It could just be an update because I don't remember that happening before. So back to the video that you were originally watching. Now I'm not putting any color or anything like that. I'm just kind of doing this. I'm just practicing. Now what would you do with the leaf? This is what we're kind of practicing here. Again, I don't need anything special here, just something like that's fine. What could you do with this leaf? Well, let's say we're going to do a color. Let's say, our color here was just a wine color. We'll just pick a wine color. And we have that leaf. Even that looks nice. What would you do with this? Now, again, the idea is I don't want to put something inside here. You could just do this. I know we were doing this with like the wine bottle. We were kind of doing something like that. That would look nice. What else would look nice? Well, you could make a circle. You could kind of make a circle shape. Make the stroke. You could go here, add a border. I'll put the wine color on the border and click on it again, and I'll delete the fill, or I'll just make it a fill of white. I'll use white down here. And maybe I'll make the stroke just a little bit bigger, the border. I'll make it 2. And now you have something that you can kind of put that inside. You could do something centered like that. You could put this thing inside there like that. And I want to bring it to the front. If I want to bring it to the front, I'll hover over here, bring element forward. Do it a couple times. See, there's the oak leaf. Let me keep bringing it forward. I want it on the top of everything. You could do something like that. You could chop it off. You could even switch this around so that this thing actually has a fill of this color, and then this thing has a fill of white. And you have something that looks like that. I think I was messing around with that with the wine bottle a little bit. Don't worry about even chopping it off. We can do that a little more later when we get more into the drawing tools. But even something like that. Again, here's something where you have a mark and you have your text. Now don't worry about that yet. There you have something that looks like a logo. Very simple type. It can work without this. This could be moved away and it'll work on its own. This could be something that could work on its own. You might have something where you might want to put this on the side like that. Could that work? Sure, that could work like that. So that's all you have to do is just some stuff like that. Something with the maple leaf, you might do something else too. This may be the same thing where you might do this in a serif and this in a sans serif. You might do this in a large bold serif, and this might work in italic. So try out some different things. And also look, there's a lot of fine, sharp lines. So when you look for a serif font, you might want to find something that has sharper lines on it. Or you might want to find a sans serif that has a little bit of sharper lines on it. And you may want to do the same kind of thing. So that's what you're going to work on. Also here, this gets a little challenging because we have this weird looking wine glass here. This is the wine store, and I have these as separate things. So, you want to make sure that you have the wine store on its own, but then you kind of incorporate the glass with it. And same thing with the fish tank. Don't put text inside this thing. Make this be something that accents fish tank. So fish tank, you might want to look at something a little more novelty to do that, a little more fun kind of font. So after using these kind of conservative things here for both Oak Hollow, and this will probably be, it's a retirement village. I'm sure it's going to be very conservative. It's not going to be a real fun kind of logo. And, to have more flexibility with it, if you want to change your leaf to like a green color or something, it may give you more ideas when you do that. Let me click in here. And remember, you could just choose any green. Okay, I had that in CMYK, that's why it looked kind of funny, but normally what you do is, and CMYK is the pro version, so I'm in the pro version here, I think, even though I don't really use anything out of the pro version, but when you click on here, you're gonna be in RGB, so yours will look like that. That way you can kind of mix something. So if you choose this color, you could go make it a little bit darker if you want like a hunter green color, if you want a light color, something like that to start with. That'll give you some idea to start with. And remember, you can rotate it around. If you kind of hover over the edge, you could rotate this thing around. You could put it in a circle. You could lighten it up. You can have the same color in here so you have some unity. Maybe you have a dark version of the color here, and maybe the leaf is the lighter color, whatever you want to do. So it'll give you a little practice here. It's kind of an exercise. Again, we've been doing a lot of exercises with your logo personalities and mishaps and all that. And this is another kind of thing to do that. But it's really good kind of, for your brain to kind of work with until we start working on your Burger Barn, as you start working through sketches. Because you want to get all the bad habits kind of out of the way and make sure that you're getting good practice of making nice type-based logos and then have a mark that go with them. When you watch those videos from before and after, you'll see a lot of good type-based logos. They don't need a lot of graphics with them, and the graphics become like an accent to it. So that's what you want to kind of do. We're going to accent our type-based logo with a graphic. So don't work around this glass. Make it smaller. Take this thing smaller. It could be something that works on the end. So work on your text logo first, then incorporate this. Work on something with fish tank, then incorporate this. Maybe it's just small looking in. Maybe it's just a little icon on top. But make sure it can work with the icon and without the icon. Make sure Oak Hollow Estates can work with this thing, or if you take it away, it doesn't look that bad either. It still looks nice and clean. And same thing with this. Make sure Maple Hills Retirement Village looks nice and clean as a logo so that Maple Hills stands out. This is secondary. Again, something like this. And I'll just do this real quick. I'll use Crimson Pro because I always like Crimson Pro as a serif font. Maybe you're going to do something where you're going to choose bold and make it bigger. Now, and that is the same thing I did with Oak Hollow, but maybe you'll do something like this. And maybe this will be Crimson Pro. And you decide to use italic for that. Now, would that work? It might. Retirement Village. There we have something there. And we have this lowercase p. Now, I didn't put this in all caps or anything. We have something like that. What would you do with this? Well, maybe it's going to be real small. Maybe, who knows where it's going to be. Maybe you're going to put it in a little nook in here. Maybe you're going to make it lighter. Whatever. Just something like that. And notice I'm not even working big. I'm not zooming in a lot. That's all you need is something like this. Just get logos that look good just like that. Even if you went here and you went with that same kind of, I'll take my eyedropper here and take that color. Maybe you had something like this, and then you put this over here and you made it lighter. And I went in here, and you could even turn down, I guess, the opacity. You could go and turn down the opacity. That's a good way to make kind of a lighter version of that, a tint version of that. Or you could just kind of, if the opacity was all the way up, you could go in here and then just kind of work your way like over up here a little bit, lighten up, kind of work in this direction up here. That's another way to kind of use the same kind of, tone that you're working. So I'm going to go real light. You could do something like that. Again, it's not perfect. Just make sure they're centered. You highlight these two, make sure they're centered on each other. Highlight these. They could be centered. You could tweak this a little bit more. so that it stretches out and they're the same width on either side. Anything like that. Just something like this, something like that. You know, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. Try different things, try different fonts, and then work on the wine store, work on the fish tank. So that's your kind of exercise that'll help lead into what we're going to be doing with our burger barn. So hope that helps a little bit. If you weren't around last week, hopefully you can work on that a little bit and take some time to do that.